Hello guys, in this video I want to share with you my understanding of PvP meta in the game of Sand. We're gonna be talking about walker design meta, action priority in battles, different battle stages and optimal strategies for each one. Quick disclaimer, it's still a game so please have fun, do not try to min-max too hard. If you find some suboptimal strategy appealing, please do it, it's still gonna work for you from time to time. This video, however, is focused on giving you a better idea of how the game works and what you should be doing to give yourself the best chance possible. I'm gonna be building my narrative around walker PvP specifically, and gunfight is just a part of that. The first thing I want to talk about is walker design meta, how to view the fights in general, and action priority in battles. We'll give ourselves a little thought experiment that we'll use to derive some conclusions, and then we'll expand on it. Well, in a fight we have two priorities. First is to not die, and second is to destroy the enemy. It's a DPS race in which in order to win you need to do something every second. And question becomes, what should you do? And there's two factors that play into that. It's DPS and repair speed. Just for understanding, let's simplify for now. Say that we have two walkers identical with a 40 mil and an engine standing right in front of one another. Let's remove the possibility of gunfight for now as well. Well, the engine in this example and in general is the most efficient module you can repair, and the most efficient engine I know of can repair 1500 HP per repair. During this time, white 40 mil can output roughly the same damage. It's probably closer to 1200. And in this example, it would seem that it's more efficient to stay in repairs. It's a more it's an action that has more priority because you can heal more than you can DPS, but it's not as simple. I would say if we zoom out a little and say that our walker also has some little chassis lags that can be targeted, and the attacker chooses that option to prevent us from moving inside the circle eventually, then, well, jumping from repairing one module to the other can diminish our repair time. And as I said, different modules are less repair efficient. So I would say, the legs are an exception because it's 2000 per repair, I think. But still, jumping this much is gonna diminish the repair speed. So it's kind of close, I would say, even in this example. And we haven't even touched on the fact that a gun might be a better tier, or even one person might operate more than one gun. For example, two 40 mils, white 40 mils, if you jump from one to another as soon as one overheats, it's gonna up your damage to probably 1600 for the same time that would take to repair one part. So yeah, it's more advantageous to shoot even in this example. So it becomes apparent that that firing takes precedence over repairs if you can afford it. And the whole goal of your walker design should play into the fact that you want to postpone the repair as much as possible. So you just want to have as many modules between you and the enemy as possible. That's your answer, that's the meta. It might be more dull than you would expect, you would hope for, but that's just what it is, and let's move on. Now let's expand our little example and say that walkers can actually move, and it might decrease or fully disable damage potential for the enemy. So the third action is introduced, it's driving. And every moment you kinda gotta assume what's more beneficial for you, either to drive, to repair, or to fire. And usually the priority is as follows. If you can, shoot. If you cannot shoot, get yourself in a better position by driving. And while you wait on something, let's say you're waiting to turn to be able to fire, you can repair in this window. And well, sometimes fight doesn't go your way, and then the priority changes. The priority becomes the driving and repairs, but it's a whole different situation. Now let's get into more detail of different stages of battle, different game options and their efficiency. The first stage is the approach. During this stage, both teams have only one generally attacking option, is just fire. And it can go two ways. Either both teams exchange and fire from afar until one of the teams feels like they have an advantage and they eventually push in, or one of the teams becomes aggressor from the start and pushes in right away. Eventually, if the second team, if the defenders do not feel like disengaging, they should just stay. Their best strategy is just to stay and fire precisely without moving. Right now the game is kind of absurd. If firing from moving a walker is heavily disadvantageous, but I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon because it's kind of netcode related, not an easy thing to fix for the developer. So yeah, during the approach the aggressors are gonna be in kind of disadvantage, so their primary focus should be on minimizing the damage. So they gotta boost themselves and also, if possible, smoke out the enemy with a smoke shell from 70 mil. It's not used as often right now, but hopefully it's gonna change after this video. Well, hopefully not against me, but you know. Second stage is engagement and actual battle itself. Right now it's not fully clear how the ramming mechanic works, but it seems like only affected modules take damage. If the enemy walker has a lot of modules, and well, if the enemies haven't lost their connection to the internet yet, you'll probably not be able to ram their engine, and the damage will be minimal. You'll just get stuck in their ship, losing your initial momentum and your advantage. Well, I think it's more optimal to use your speed advantage in flanking the enemy initially and starting encircling them, damaging their legs and engine if it's exposed already. There's no much sense in damaging their defensive modules. During this stage, the opportunity of boarding the enemy's ship appears, and let's discuss this opportunity, whether it's effective or not. And well, it's gonna depend on whether you impose any threat or not. And the kind of threat you impose is gonna be one of three. It's you're threatening to capture the enemy's ship, you're threatening to disable the engine or get to the steering wheel, or you're threatening killing the crew manning the guns, and if you're successful, you're threatening dismantling the guns altogether or removing the ammo from them. I would say that all these threats, worst case scenario, are gonna freeze the enemy activity on the ship and you'll have the advantage. So I would say it's usually an optimal strategy to board the ship if the opportunity presents itself. And generally, if the ships are equally matched on power level, or even if the enemy is stronger, it's even more advantageous. And let's assume that winning a gunfight is 50-50 always, and look at different outcomes. Well, first, let's say you have the threat of capturing the enemy ship. By that I mean you have enough resources and you actually progress towards that goal. If you're not spotted, well, it's just game over. It's a good chance that you'll do it faster than your absence from your ship is gonna make a difference. I'm mostly talking about team fights right now. And well, if you're spotted, it will actually distract the enemy crew from different activities and buy your team more time. You will waste more enemy time than you'll waste yours. So even if you die right away after you got spotted, I would say the time of your respawn will probably be not much more than the enemy is gonna waste on getting to you and back to their active position. So it's a win generally either way. And if you're able to do some damage to distract them for some time, it's even better. If you're threatening to hinder the enemy's movement by disabling the engine, well, if you can actually do it, and if you are able to press the button or get to the steering wheel, you can turn the the battle outcome on its head. And once again, even if you don't do that, and if you don't do that just because the enemy was distracted and actually had to deal with you, the same idea applies, that you've wasted way more, not way more, but probably more time of the enemy than you did waste yours. So it's generally, I would say, a win also, but you gotta make sure that you actually impose the threat and it actually still is relevant, because if you're immobilized and you will not be able to capitalize on that, probably not a good idea. And well, third, if you're jumping right on the gun deck, on the turret deck, it's a risky battle that is gonna take place, well, on the turret deck, right next to their guns. If they win, you'll waste more of your time than they did of theirs, because they'll be able to quickly get back to firing. So it's kind of risky. That's why if you find this option available to you, you gotta survive for as long as possible to waste their time. And well, if you're able to eventually win, well, then it's game over for them probably. But it's kind of has to be forced fights. You don't have to look for them necessarily yourself. Well, it all sounds good, and it only actually is good if you actually present a threat. If you just jump without a plan, then more experienced players will just ignore you, and it will be useless. You'll probably lose, or at least give your team worse chance at winning. The third stage, I would say, is disengage or the chase, and there's not much you could say here. It's just focus on the boosting and also focus the legs if possible. Now that I've described different stages of battle and how they play out in more detail, it becomes also clear that having guns on your walker to the side, I would say, is usually more advantageous, as during the engagement, during the actual fight, the walker that is moving is going to have an upper hand in maneuverability. If you're just standing trying to turn so that your frontal guns face the enemy, you're going to be in a disadvantage. So I would say it's matter to have your guns on the side now. Now let's describe different cannons and different actions during the fight in general. Well, the first cannon is 80mm. It is used for long poke. When you're a defensive player during the enemy's approach, you can focus the legs more efficiently. Well, it's a general idea, right? But I would say that 40mm could do as well on a distance. And, well, also, if the enemy ship is destroyed already, if a lot of the modules are gone and you're trying to target the engine, and 40mm does poor for you, well, 80mm is the way, but it's the idea. In practice, usually 40mm outshines 80mm every time, in every situation, even for the focused fire, even for the long-ranged shootout. So I would say the best thing you can do with 80mm is just to snipe a crew member of the enemy ship, and well, it's only, I mean, the 70mm is better for that purpose, so we'll just jump straight to the 40mm. Well, 40mm is your best option in DPS to the enemy. It's your, I would say, superior option of DPS if you're focusing the modules, the walker modules. So yeah, it's just overall better, I would say. And 70mm, as I said, is just to kill enemy crew, and also a tactical gun if you have the smoke shell. And it's, as I said, rather powerful. I would use it more if I were you, especially on the approach, as we discussed. Moving on to general benefit of different actions, I would say the most advantageous thing you can do is to kill the enemy crew member, and for that you could use your guns or 70mm. But I would say if your goal is to kill an enemy crew member, you should only use 70mm for that, as it's way more reliable than using your guns. If you wasted a lot of time with your guns and you were not able to kill the enemy, well, you've just lost yourself some precious time. Second advantageous action is to smoke out the enemy if you can, especially if they're stationary. Third action is to fire at the engine if it's exposed, and fourth, fire at the legs. All the other different actions go after. You could argue that capturing enemy captain's cabin is number one, and well, I wouldn't argue with that, it's just not my point. And lastly, I would like to share some tips that are probably a little less conceptual than all the things that we've discussed till this point, but still they might be just as useful. First thing is to find consumables if you don't have them. Any consumable like orbital strike, deployable shield, will give you a better chance of winning, especially if you're engaged in a superior walker. Also, you want to make sure you do as many things in advance as possible that's gonna make your life easier in the future, during the rounds, during the fights. For me, it's the same routine every match. I start by loading up my guns, putting all the consumables in the right spots, like the shields, the boosts right next to the engine. You should also have backup gear in case you're boarded or you just die and cannot get to your initial gear. So for me, my captain's cabin also includes multiple sets of shotguns, armored vests, heals, explosives. Having better tiers of guns and modules is also gonna help you win more fights. It's just something you want to work towards, and I would say if you're familiar with general fighting, there is no reason for you not to take better gear. If you're already confident in your fighting skills, I would advise you to pick your fights and not engage the enemy from the start. You should probably also not have any crates laying around in open access on your ship, just in case enemy boards you and kills you. It would be not as convenient for him to remove all the ammo from your guns. He would be forced to actually remove them, which takes way more time. Well, I think that's all I wanted to share for today. So on that note, I would like to thank you for watching and say goodbye. See ya.